On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we are going to review Godzilla -1. Ooh, it's cold in Japan. No, that's not why they called it that.
Yeah,
but
no, it didn't look too cold in the movie.
No, it didn't look too bad. No. Most of it was, I think, during the spring, summertime.
Sure.
Anyway, we'll start off spoiler-free with that review. We will warn you before we dive into spoilers. If you want to jump right to that discussion, check out the time codes down in the description. But before that, Holden, we're going to talk about news from the week in the world of entertainment. Holden, what are some of our top stories this week?
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at trailers for the new Furiosa movie, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, and more. We've got several trailers.
So many trailers.
And then we're also talking about a new Boys spinoff in the works and a new Stephen King adaptation also in the works.
Oh boy. As always, use the time codes to jump right to those discussions too, if anything interests you as you're scrubbing through the video or the audio file, looking at that audio description. But if you want to stick around for the whole ride, we'd love that as well. I'm Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for Tom.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
All right, Jimmy, before we talk Godzilla -1, we've got to do the Toms.
Let's do the Toms.
The Toms. Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of 3 famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw is the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between.
There we go.
Very good.
Very good. Jolly good. So many trailers. Holden, what trailer should we start off with this week?
Let's start off with Furiosa, the new Mad Max prequel movie to Fury Road, following the character of the same name from that movie, originally played by Charlize Theron, but now played by Anya Taylor-Joy in this prequel film. What do you think of this trailer?
It looks like more Mad Max. I forgot Chris Hemsworth was in this.
Yeah, I think he's the villain. So
villain, all right.
Yeah.
And then who is he? The same as the evil water guy in Mad Max Fury Road?
So there was something about, I don't know if this is like going to be a spoiler because obviously it's too early to tell, but there was a while where he was like if you looked on Wikipedia, it said he was cast as that character.
Okay.
But now it's like he has like a different name. So I don't know if it's going to turn out that he is that guy or something, but I don't know. Regardless, he has a different name right now.
Billy.
Yeah, it's just Billy. I think it's like Dementis or something.
Todd.
Very, very, Todd. It'd be a good Mad Max name. Yeah, I mean, I think this trailer looks great. I think it looks like more Fury Road kind of stuff. I think it's going to be less focused on the cars overall, just kind of about the vibe. I think it's going to be split more in between kind of car action and more on foot stuff. But looks very visually stylish like the previous one, very, very saturated, but in a cool way. Yeah, and the score for the trailer too, I think, is Junkie XL, who did the score for Fury Road, which had a great score. So I'm very excited to see how that goes too.
Yeah, I've not seen it since like 2016, I think, is when I finally saw it. I didn't see it in the theaters. So I haven't seen it in so long that I don't remember that much from that movie.
Yeah.
I liked it. I didn't love it as much as everybody else did after the first time watching.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'll have to revisit it before Mad Max Furiosa Road.
Yeah, I told Jimmy that like this is the movie that Fury Road is the movie I've single-handedly changed opinion on the most. I think, like in terms of how far I've changed, and I really, really love it now. So, yeah, I think this trailer is a Brokaw from me.
Yeah, I will give it a Brokaw. I like how Chris Hemsworth is playing against type.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm more excited about his performance than Anya Taylor-Joy, although she's always great.
Yeah.
Like you said, stunts are always cool, visually interesting world, and I'm looking forward to it probably not as much as you.
I'm really looking forward to it.
But maybe if I rewatch Fury Road, my opinion would change on that.
And it's speaking of Chris Hemsworth, that's interesting. Apparently, this is like the first or maybe it was like before like he didn't do one before his big break, but this might be like the first actual like Australian movie he's made, and he is Australian.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. I think he got his start with Hollywood and everything. So anyway, next trailer, Jimmy. Godzilla X Kong, the new empire.
So is it Godzilla X Kong or is it Godzilla times Kong?
Godzilla
Kong.
It's confusing.
Godzilla X Kong.
I'm just gonna say Godzilla X Kong because I said Fast X and Saw X. So
Godzilla the X Con.
The X Con.
Godzilla X Kong X Cons.
Yeah, so obviously we're talking about a Godzilla movie this week that's not connected to this, but this is a sequel to Godzilla versus Kong from a couple years ago. This looks bad, I think.
Okay, well, I'm going to say it looks, as in visually.
Visually, it looks
incredible.
Good. Yeah, but that's how the other ones
Here's
do
what
too.
I want to know. Where does the light in just Middle Earth, what do they call it?
The Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth,
yeah.
Center Earth or something. I like to call it Middle Earth.
Yeah,
to be like Lord of the Rings. It's just King Kong eating hobbits.
That'd be pretty good.
Where does the light in Middle Earth come from? There's no like sun. Is there just a sun in there?
I vaguely remember an explanation in Godzilla versus Kong, but I couldn't tell you what it was. So
I couldn't tell you.
know.
I just was like, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but
actually, maybe I think the explanation I'm thinking of is from Journey to the Center of the Earth from starring Brendan Fraser. So never mind. I don't know.
I never did see that one.
Loved it as a kid.
That's my big question. Where's the light coming from?
Yeah,
it's like sunny. I'm like, how?
Yeah, it doesn't
is
make
there
much
just
sense.
like a sun in here? How does that work?
Yeah.
Does it have its own gravitational pull? It doesn't make any sense.
Kong has a robot arm now.
He's
Infinity Gauntlet.
He's got the Infinity Gauntlet. And then there's other Kongs.
Yeah, there's an evil Kong.
And then there's a mini Kong. And he's like, is that a mini Kong? And I think they should just call him Diddy.
They should
Diddy
call him Diddy Kong. And
Donkey Kong.
Godzilla's pink now.
Godzilla's pink and icy. I do not care. It looks visually incredible. The VFX artist knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
The last one was terrible outside of really good action sequences. Like the monster stuff has been great. I think like legitimately good. But I do not care about the story. I don't know what's going on with the story. I have no investment into this world at all. It's just big monster movies at this point, which is, I don't know. I just don't really care about big monster movies personally. I'd rather see something like Godzilla -1, where it's like this human story and then there's a monster in it, or like the actual King Kong, movies where it's like, instead of, oh, here's a big monster and then they're gonna fight another big monster, and here they're like, I don't know, they're like too human, where it's like, oh, they have like personalities.
Yeah, it's like Kong has like just a human personality in this. At least I don't remember that. Like I remember him kind of being that way in Skull Island, but it's really that way in Godzilla versus Kong. He's just basically the main protagonist.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, I think there is like merit to big monster fighty movies, but I think even
there is, like, if you like them, great. I love the Saw movies. People don't like, that's not people's cup of tea. Like I am not poo-pooing anybody who likes this. I'm like, I just do not care. Like I just would rather just YouTube the fight scenes from these movies, because it's the same characters from the last one, and I could not tell you anything about them.
Yeah.
What's his name's character has a podcast or something.
Yeah, he's like a conspiracy theorist. That's the only thing I remember. It doesn't look like Millie Bobby Brown is back in this one.
Yeah, I couldn't have told you anything about Millie Bobby Brown's character.
I don't either. I don't think I could either.
Bring back Charles Dance.
Yeah, whatever happened to him? Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look very good. We'll probably see it because it's like a big movie, and there's probably not going to be anything else coming out that week.
Probably. Oh boy.
But
I'm not excited.
Bergeron,
I'm going to go
guess?
Bergeron.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because, I mean, visually, way to go. Everybody worked on it visually. Looks great. Where does the light come from?
Yeah. They probably did say it in Godzilla versus Kong, and it probably made no sense. So, Next trailer, The Boys season 4. Jimmy, kind of flip side. This is something I'm a lot more interested.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this trailer?
I liked it. I mean, obviously they're just going even more in the political realm, which we'll see how that works. It's there's a fine line between just on the nose, roll your eyes stuff with the satire and then like actual clever stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm excited that Homelander seems to be very much a focus. So I like how he compares himself to Caesar. And we'll see what happens there. There's the election. Gotta love good old, President-elect Singer. Was he elected last season, or was he the nominee?
I can't
or
remember.
something?
I need to rewatch season 3 before this one comes out.
But Sioux Falls, pride of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, based on the lore,
According to the show.
where we reside. So definitely he's got my vote. And yeah, no, I'm excited to see how Gen V ties into this season, and it's good to get the boys back together. Holden, yeah, I mean, season 3 was the weakest of the 3 seasons after watching it the first time. So it was not bad by any stretch. It was still solid. So I would like to see them go back to like peak form here, and looks like a lot of fun. So I'm gonna go with a Brokaw. Holden.
Yeah, it looks violent, looks perverse, classic boys stuff that you'd want. It's got Jeffrey Dean Morgan has appeared in the trailer, who I thought was playing a superpowered person. Maybe he still is, but it looks like he's working with the boys in some degree. He's always great, but yeah, I don't know. Looks like a lot of fun. Anthony Starr
Doesn't give too much away.
Anthony Starr covered in blood at the end. Homelander. Yeah. So
good.
Cool. Love that stuff. Give it a Brokaw.
There we go. All right, Holden. Next trailer, another TV trailer. The rest of them are TV trailers. House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon.
Season 2 coming summer 2024. War is breaking out between the greens and the blacks.
I realized while watching this trailer and thinking about talking about it on the podcast, I'm like, I do not remember a lot of these characters' names.
I'm a little fuzzy. I need to rewatch season 1, definitely.
Yeah. But I mean, it's another just teaser trailer. It doesn't give away a ton. As you said, war is breaking out. Clearly, it's going to focus on Alicent versus Rhaenyra. Yeah, that's right. That's the main character's name. But yeah, and then we get glimpses of Matt Smith. Got the eye patch one. Got Otto Hightower, the eye patch one.
I don't remember his name either. Yeah, so I can't even say anything.
I don't know. It looks great though. I mean, kind of similar to what we said about Godzilla versus Kong. The Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon has always looked great. The visual effects department. So
I'm excited because the book readers say things just get nuts and lots of people die and it's just chaos. So
yeah, that's exciting.
Brokaw for me, Holden.
I mean, yeah, I'm curious to see how. I don't know. I'm just curious to see more Matt Smith. Matt Smith was so good in season 1. So
he was.
Yeah, and.
Yep. Last trailer we got is the Fallout TV show. Holden, I have never played the Fallout games. Have you played any of the Fallout games?
So I've played a lot of Fallout New Vegas, which is probably the least helpful one in regards to understanding this show because it's kind of made by a different studio. It is in the same world and everything, and there is a lot of connection, but it's like not made by Bethesda. But I'm familiar with a bunch of it just because like my brother has played some of the games. But yeah, I mean the trailer looks pretty accurate to the games. It looks like they've got great production design and everything. They've got all the costumes and everything. They've got Walton Goggins, I believe, is playing like this ghoul character, which the ghouls and Fallout are like these irradiated mutant people that kind of like don't have skin or are very like wrinkly and stuff. So he's the guy in the trailer with no nose. But yeah, looks like it's going to have its weird retro futuristic aesthetic. It's going to have a lot of Western influences like in the games. Going to be They're gonna have a decent sense of humor, violent.
You see the nukes go off.
That looks like it'd be cool to kind of see how it all happens and everything.
Michael Emerson is in it from Lost, and of course Zepp from Saw.
Wait, is he?
Yeah, Michael Emerson was in the trailer.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
I missed that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't miss any Saw/Lost actors.
Dang it.
Which there are multiple.
Yeah.
Who appear in both of those things.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks very, obviously it's Amazon, so a lot of money is put behind it. And Jonathan Nolan, which I forgot he was creating the show. So,
I mean, it looks good. Mm-hmm. That's coming from someone who doesn't know anything about Fallout. Fallout 3 is not made by Bethesda?
Fallout 3 is made by Bethesda.
Oh, sorry. Fallout New Vegas.
No, it's like published by Bethesda, but it's a different company made it.
Is that the one everybody likes?
That's the one everyone likes. Is not made by Bethesda.
Okay.
And then 4 is back to that. Yeah, so I don't know. Some people are unhappy that because Fallout in like the original 2 games before it was Bethesda, it was like a lot more like gross and grimy and weird, and it's kind of, I think, gotten more streamlined and kind of cleaned up in its image. But I don't know. This is kind of what more people recognize, I think, as Fallout. So makes sense they'd go this route.
I will give it a broke eye. I mean, it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you took if it didn't exist before and you said, look at this show, I'd be like, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
So there we go. Brokaw. That's it for trailers, Holden.
That is.
Let's talk about our Lord and Savior, Bob Iger.
Bob Iger. So Bob Iger this week commented on the Marvels and said something that was
CEO
very
of Disney.
Yeah, CEO of Disney. He said he blamed the fact that, kind of the Marvel's failure on the fact that it was shot during COVID, and also that there weren't enough executives on set, which is interesting.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Bombadil. I don't know what to say about that. Like, I thought the movie was fine.
Yeah.
I think that has nothing to do with the box office performance.
No, I think it's like such a weird lesson to take from this, because I don't think there's, I mean, granted, we don't know everything, but it seems like there's not really, I don't know. Like, I feel like the having more executives on set is pretty notoriously what makes a movie kind of lose its like identity in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but and in this case, I felt like the Marvels had a decent identity compared to a lot of Marvel movies. So I don't want, them to lose what they've got in that regard. Yeah, that's a bombadil.
Yeah. I stand by it, Holden. Bob Iger, what are you
talking about? But we talked about The Boys, but they're announced there's a new Boys spinoff in the works. And it was announced as The Boys Mexico. I highly doubt that's going to be the final name.
Los Hombres.
Yeah. Well, I was seeing that I think the like Gen V was originally announced as like The Boys Varsity or something like that.
Okay.
So this is probably just like a placeholder name.
Code name.
Yeah. It's coming from Blue Beetle writer Gareth Dunnett Aloser, and executive produced by Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal, which is interesting. They said that they might have like small roles in the show, but they're not going to be like major actors, like the main characters or anything. But no plot.
Cassian Andor.
What are you doing here? Yeah. No.
I'm building this thing for the Death Star.
Werewolf by Night.
That's right.
What are you doing here? But no plot is really known about it at this time.
I'll give it a broke eye. I mean, the first Boys spinoff was great. So
yeah, I really
let's
enjoyed
keep the
it.
trend going.
Yeah, make a good one. This could be like the. Are you aware of that like Breaking Bad, the like Colombian remake?
That's right. Like the shot for shot Colombian remake.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but if you watch clips of that, it is pretty funny. But yeah, and then the final piece of news is there's a new Stephen King adaptation. Who would have thought? There's one of these like every other week, it seems. But this one's called The Long Walk. Apparently, Francis Lawrence of the Hunger Games films is attached to direct for Lionsgate. This centers on an annual contest in which 100 teen boys embark on the punishing titular journey that involves strict stipulations, including that they must walk at least 4 miles an hour, and ends with only one survivor. So it sounds like the Hunger Games.
So wait, it's an annual contest. 100 teen boys do the long walk, the titular journey. You have to walk 4 miles an hour, and then it ends when one person's still walking.
Yeah, or one person's survive. I don't know if people are literally dying or if there's only one person left walking. That wasn't exactly clear. But apparently, this has been in development hell for like decades. Directors like George Romero and Frank Darabont, who's previously done Shawshank Redemption and The Mist, other Stephen King movies, have apparently previously eyed it, but now it's actually moving forward. So
can't wait for the headlines to be like, projections show The Long Walk has a short run at the box office.
Oh my gosh. or a long stretch to go at the box office or something. Yeah, there's going to be some good pun. But yeah, I don't know. It sounds like an interesting concept, but it also does sound very Hunger Games-esque, which makes sense why they'd get Francis Lawrence.
Yeah.
And it is for Lionsgate too. So
let's hope The Long Walk is a step up from some of these other Stephen King adaptations that we've gotten.
Okay, I'll give that one to you, Jimmy. That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'll give it a Brokaw. Sounds interesting. Sure.
Yeah. I'll give it a Bergeron because why not?
All right, fair enough.
It sounds all right.
And that's it for news this week, Jimmy.
Now on to the most important segment of the show, which is TOMPeyes.
TOMPeyes.
Our weekly Popeyes chicken review, because that's where we like to pregame before we go see our film at the theater.
Yes.
So before our little afternoon showing of Godzilla on Saturday.
Yesterday as of recording,
we visited the Popeyes establishment, and your order was relatively smooth. It wasn't
fine.
It was fine. It was a guy's apparently new first day on the job.
Yeah,
I think I overheard him say that to the person before us.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yeah, so it was those cashiers' first day on the job.
I felt bad for him because the person in front of us did not speak English and came in with a coupon, and he was asking her what sides and stuff. And I felt like he handled that relatively well.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, he's new, so
yeah. And then Holden, he had to a couple things with Holden that
Yeah, I had to repeat my order twice or something, but it wasn't too bad, all things considered.
And normally I get the 4-piece just fried chicken combo, and I like dark meat, so I say all dark. And I'm like, well, if I order that, I'm gonna put this guy on the spot for changing it to all dark meat, because that seems like one extra step. So I'm like, you know what? I want to just give this guy a break, and I'm just gonna get the ghost pepper wings combo, because it'll just the 12-piece combo, ghost pepper wings, just fries in the drink, just with and that hopefully that will just make this guy's day easier. Just give him a softball, build his confidence. I was at the register. We should have timed it. Not hyperbole. It was 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not hyperbole, which doesn't seem that long. But when you're just trying to order a singular item that is not complicated, it was grueling.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of lost track because I just went and got our spot, and then I kind of lost track of time. And then at some point I just realized, well, Jimmy has been gone a while.
I think I said my order 6 or 7 times because he first did it, and he kept asking me if it was nuggets or wings. So I was like, oh no, it's just 12 wings combo. And then I tried to do it step by step. So I'm for here. He's like, okay, for here. And I'm 12 wings combo. And so, and then he was getting confused whether it was wings or nuggets. And I was like, oh no, wings. And then I said I would like the ghost pepper flavor. And then he got confused about the flavor a couple times. And then he said, what for a side? I said fries. And then he was like, okay, it'll be $10. I'm like, well, I should get a drink with it because it's the combo, and the combo costs more than it's up.
Sure, yeah.
It says literally behind you that it's $15. She's like, he said oh, I guess you just don't want it cheaper then, huh? Or something weird like that. And I was like, I didn't even I was just I just want the 12-piece. I didn't say anything to that. I just said, I just want to get the 12-piece combo with the wings or with the fries and the drink. That's all I just said back. I'm like, I just want to make sure I get my food, man. Like what I pay for. Like I just want to get the right thing. And then he's like started with like nuggets again. And I'm like, no, like the wings. I'm like, it's just a 12-piece wing combo. 12, like there's like, I don't like, it's one of those things like, oh my gosh, can I just like climb behind here and just like look at what you're looking at so we can just figure this out together.
Well, you feel bad for the guy because he can't figure it out.
And
but
that's
like,
I'm like trying to be extremely patient and nice about this.
Yeah. But I'm also like, why, like, if this is his like first day, why is he like alone at the register at the front? Like,
and people kept like glancing. Like there was this manager kept like glancing up, and I'm like, like clearly, like I have been there for several minutes. It's like, and he doesn't know what's going on. And I mean, again, I had to restart my order like 7 times, and then finally, someone just came over and like, okay, what's the deal? I said, I want a 12-piece combo, ghost pepper flavor, whatever the wings, fries, and a drink. And he's like, oh yeah. And he just like literally took him 11 seconds to type that in. And then it was over. And I was like, and to
I got
be fair,
my food before you were done.
Yeah, to be fair, they made it like right away. So I got my food. So
that's true.
it's not the longest I've had to wait for my food at Popeyes.
No.
But
that would have been last
that
week
was,
or 2 weeks ago.
That was incredibly like, I was like, dude, I'm trying to be so patient with you right now. But he like wouldn't ask for help either. And he kept like thinking he was just doing it right. And I'm like, like this cannot be that difficult. Like there have been dozens of Popeyes employees before you, which are not the cream of the crop, let me say, that have figured this out. And I'm like, I tried to go out of my way to make your life easier, and I still ended up in this situation. But yeah, that's my Popeyes. And the wings were great. Delicious. Food is always delicious. That's the thing.
I had a really good basket. Like the chicken tenders I always get, they're really nice and plump and juicy this week. Very good. Oh
nice
my gosh.
Juicy tenders.
Yeah. So mine was fine. my time was fine.
I also said like I wanted like ghost pepper. He's like, oh, that's too spicy.
Oh.
All right.
Ghost pepper at like a fast food restaurant does not mean real ghost pepper.
No, it doesn't. Well, like they literally have like 5 wing flavors now, and it says like their relative heat. And ghost pepper, there's like 4 of the 5 are like virtually the same at like mild, and ghost pepper is one of those. And then it's like signature hot, which is actually hot. It does have a nice kick to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's was Popeyes this week. Oh my gosh. Hopefully, hopefully that guy kind of starts piecing it together a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
hopefully he learns more.
But there we go. Anything else to say?
I don't think so.
All right, let's dive into our Godzilla -1 non-spoiler review right after this.
All right, Godzilla -1.
It's called that, Holden. I looked it up beforehand because I was like, why is it called that? Is it cold there? No, it's not. It's not -1. Although it might be -1 Celsius. Which would be like 30 degrees Fahrenheit around there.
Yeah, a little chilly.
A little chilly. But no, people not really wearing jackets. I think most of this movie takes place spring or summer.
Yeah.
But I got our synopsis here. Oh, wait. I should say why it's called -1.
Yeah, you said you looked it up and then you...
I looked it up and I'm going to withhold
keep
that
it to
information.
myself.
It's called -1 because they say like the use of the atomic weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II is like setting Japan at 0. Like this is like 0, and then Godzilla is there to push Japan like into the negative -1. So I was like, okay,
that makes sense given that's basically what the synopsis says, which is 1 sentence.
Yeah, nice, short and sweet. Japan is already devastated by the war when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster.
Yeah,
I feel like you could say that for a lot of Godzilla movies,
this
especially
is true,
the original.
Yeah, this one is really focused on post-war Japan and kind of and Godzilla's effects on it. But this movie is really, really good.
It's fantastic.
It's
one of the better movies of the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Only $15 million budget, which is absurd.
Yeah.
This movie has such a wide scope to it. that I just cannot believe it was $15 million.
Yeah.
They definitely had a lot of executives on set, apparently.
There is something to like as part of that, because I was like reading into it. Like you can find stuff online about how Japan labor laws are a bit more like crunchy and weird than even like US in terms of like VFX and stuff. So that does contribute to the lower budget and stuff. There's probably lower wages. But at the same time,
this would be a $200 million movie in the United States.
Yeah, like
is it $185 million difference?
If everyone, like if that was adjusted properly, I can't imagine. Like this is still probably way under half of what the U.S. would spend on it. I feel like I don't know. It's it's insane. But the movie looks really good, especially for the
most part. There's definitely like some CGI, especially with like waves and water. I'm like, this looks like it's from like 2009. But here's the deal. I don't care because the story was really good. Like I literally was like, that doesn't look great, but wow, this story is really good. So I don't really care. I'm going to disregard it. And Godzilla looks good. And as long as Godzilla looks good, everything else is fine.
Yeah, that's clearly where like most of the CG budget went, and for good reason, because that's what everyone's expecting. Godzilla looks great. The new design is very cool.
Very like a lot of emphasis on like the eyes. The eyes like stood out to me more than other Godzillas.
Yeah, I as much as I criticize as we make fun of like the Godzilla versus Kong trailer, maybe this is a hot take. I do really like that design of Godzilla in the American movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my favorite. This one is also very good. It's closer to kind of the original, where like it has the kind of shorter arms, much taller than it is like wide, and it has the very long tail too, just obscenely long tail. But the really cool thing about the new design is like the plates on the back that like kind of ka-chunk into place when like the atomic breath is being charged up. That's so cool. That's just like that didn't need to be there, but that's just a weird kind of unique detail that I don't think is part of other Godzilla iterations, as far as I know.
I love how Godzilla's atomic breath in this movie is just a nuclear weapon.
Oh my God.
It is so cool.
It's so
just
cool.
It just creates an atomic bomb, essentially.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about kind of when it first goes off in spoilers, but the first time it does, it reminded, I feel like I compare this scene to other things a lot, but it reminded me of the Last Jedi hyper space sequence.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I thought literally while the movie was happening, I'm like, this reminds me of the scene from The Last Jedi.
It's just, it's so good at blowing your expectations out of the water in terms of like destruction and everything, and it's great sound design and everything. So yeah, it's very similar in that regard, I think.
Yeah, so we'll dive into that more in spoilers, but we're gonna stay vague here.
Yes.
But the strength of this movie is that the human story is very interesting, particularly with our protagonist, who I don't want to say much about other than just kind of like his defining kind of
Shikishima.
Yeah. Shikishima or something like that.
Yeah, probably Shikishima.
His the first 3 minutes of the movie, you find out that he's kind of a kamikaze pilot who has bailed out of being a kamikaze pilot because the war is over.
Yeah.
Essentially. And he can go on this kamikaze mission, or he could try to, live.
Yeah.
Like what's the point of this? And I think the movie does a really good job of obviously a lot of Godzilla is like, okay, the effect of nuclear weapons and stuff and that destruction and like the decimation of Japan from like the fire bombings and stuff of Tokyo. And that is all there and you see it, but it's not necessarily the focus of this movie. I would say the focus of this movie is more like, from a historical context, the focus is kind of a critique of the Japanese approach to warfare during World War II, specifically with its like lack of reverence for individual lives. So very much like a communal approach to warfare. Like if like ants were gonna get together to fight. Like, you know, it's like, you know, it's about the whole rather than like the specific individuals. And it's a critique of that, especially, you know, with kamikaze pilots and the kind of not necessarily valuing in the individual lives. And I thought that was a very interesting approach that I wasn't necessarily expecting from this movie. And I thought it was very well done as they explored it. And then also it's just about like the human spirit in general.
Yeah.
There are a couple of just really cool lines and moments and scenes in this movie that are like, wow, that's pretty profound for this, you know, movie that has just a big monster gonna blow up cities and stuff or knock things over.
And this will be a spoiler kind of getting into this part, but I think you can compare the main character to Oppenheimer, honestly, in a lot of ways.
I'm not sure where you're drawing that connection. So you have to say that in spoilers.
We'll talk about it in non-spoiler or in spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Sorry. So you're
Fair
going to have to
enough.
explain it to me.
Yeah, I'll explain it.
And I will say, oh, I see. Or I'll say, Holden, you fool. That makes zero sense.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, no, I think this movie is just fantastic. Particularly the third act just delivers. It's just it's incredible. It's so well done. The scope of this movie, it gets, you know, bigger and bigger and bigger as it goes. I mean, it's quite small at the beginning. It is very much the focus is on the humans in the first half of this, and then it's more so Godzilla in the second half. And what do we do about Godzilla? But the third act of this, talk about like okay, creating I love it when a movie is like, okay, here's the plan. We know the plan,
Execute
and
the
we
plan.
try to, you know, we execute the plan, and we very much, as these huge, like just gigantic scene is going on, we know exactly what is happening at every single level, because
it was well explained before.
The geography of everything makes sense, the motivations make sense, where the characters are at every moment, what they're trying to do, everything makes sense, and we know where everything is in relation to each other, and that is just so hard to do. And when it's done well, it makes it look so easy. Like, I would say some great examples of it, like the end of The Dark Knight, when you have so many different storylines kind of convening at once, but you know exactly everything that's going on. The climax of that movie, and then like this is exceptional as well, where you have these characters in different places trying to do specific things, maybe
Maverick,
maybe communicating with each other. Again, and I walked out and I told Holden, I'm like, this was the Top Gun Maverick of Godzilla movies, where it's like you see like, you know, this team and this plan, and I don't see how they're gonna make a better one of these.
Yeah, it's at least in this kind of way. I mean, even out like there's kind of 4 big action sequences, I'd say, in this movie, and they're all done extremely well. I think it does a really good job of making Godzilla really scary. Like it emphasizes the destruction and like human lives lost more than I've seen in probably any other Godzilla movie. Granted, I haven't seen them all, so I can't say if that's for certain or not. But yeah, and
Godzilla is just a force of nature in this.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, he does a lot of the same things that you're familiar with in other Godzilla movies, but I think it's just recontextualized to be seen as like a lot more terrifying. And it does a pretty good job of doing like sense of scale, kind of like Gareth Edwards' Godzilla movie. But I think this movie just makes it like focuses a lot more on the terror aspect than that movie does, and kind of adds that sense of scale to that. I think another really strong aspect is the music and sound design to the movie too. It's really fun because it brings back the original Godzilla theme in a couple different moments and stuff, and it's really effective when it does. Very like goosebumps almost like inducing, I felt at a couple moments. But there are also other moments where it was like incredibly minimal. Like I'd say this second, I think it's the second main action sequence. It's just like, it's incredibly tense, and basically the only thing happening in the soundtrack is like this droning sound the entire time, and like and everything else like is just like Godzilla roaring and everything. And I thought that was very effective in how minimal it was. But yeah, just fantastic all around in that regard, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I again, other strengths of this movie is just like you have a nice little team dynamic with the kind of the group that our main character Shikishima
the team
ends up with, and we won't talk more about that. And just kind of there's an interesting family dynamic in the movie as well that I think adds a lot of heart to the story. And just again the look of post-war Japan and everybody's responses to surviving the war. Like, what does it mean to survive? And what do we do going forward? Like, how do we move on from all this? And all of a sudden, here's another thing coming at us. Like, we're at 0. Now we're going to -1. And
it really does do a good job of establishing post-war Japan as just it's not good. Like, everyone's in, like, we have our main character in just this little shambled shack that's like barely held together and everything.
And that's like everything. I mean, it's Tokyo,
everything is that
way. Like, it's the fire bombings just decimated Tokyo.
Yeah.
It's like it looks nothing like anything else.
And so everyone's already in this horrible position. And then you add Godzilla onto it. And everything just feels so hopeless because of that.
People don't even know who's alive and who's not alive.
No. Yeah.
So it's just awful time to be alive. Just horrific. And I think this movie, again, like I said, the effects, are they amazing? Are they like, wow? No, they're not incredible. Like, but this does not hold a candle to the Godzilla X Kong, the New World or Kingdom, whatever the subtitle is that we just watched. But the creativity, like there's kind of in the opening action sequence, there's kind of an extended take oneer sort of thing. That's like, does this look as good as things I've seen in other movies? No, but the creativity and the storytelling here helps me overlook those things. And overall, there was just so much heart in this story that I literally even like welled up at the end. I was like, wow, this is very emotional and powerful. And you said the score complements everything so well. And I just was not expecting... I was just not expecting it from a movie that I was like, I probably won't even see that when we heard about this. Like it was like a last second call to go to this because I'm like, oh, this movie actually, it's got good reviews. We should maybe go see it.
Yeah. No, I was very excited because I mean, I mentioned to you beforehand, it was getting a wide release, like, which I thought was interesting because it is, a Japanese language film. Granted,
we should
say
Godzilla. That it's literally in Japanese.
Yeah,
so
it's
like
Japanese.
If you go to this, it will be in subtitles.
And it is, like I mentioned with the trailer Godzilla X Kong, it's unrelated to that too. But yeah, no, it's wide release. The previous one that came out, they did Shin Godzilla, which came out like, I want to say 5-6 years
28.
ago.
What does that say? 2016?
Oh, right here. 2016. So yeah. But that one I think also got a theatrical release over here, at least limited. And I never got to see it. I was upset about it. I've heard that movie's very good and I still haven't seen it. So when I saw this was getting here, like over here, I was like, oh, heck yeah. And then, yeah, it's been getting great reviews. I mean, for me, I think it's, as someone who hasn't seen all of the Godzilla movies, this is my favorite Godzilla movie, even over the like original, which the original is very, very good. I really like it. I think this one in some ways is better. I certainly like it more. But I mean, both movies are great. So the fact that this is like up there with the original, I think is something to note.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original one yet, and I haven't seen very many. So I really liked it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot. And for reasons that I was not expecting. So yeah, I think definitely go out and see this movie. If you're not bothered by reading subtitles, that's like not a deal breaker for you. If you liked if you like Top Gun Maverick, you're gonna get similar vibes from this. I think not from like a, just kind of the essence of it, like the structure of it. Like, okay, there's a team dynamic, a mission. I like this movie more than Top Gun Maverick.
Same. Yeah.
But that's not to say Top Gun Maverick wasn't very well done for what it was. It was just like, this is a really good for what it is. And they do a good job of setting up a good third act that delivers. So yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at with this. I would just say definitely go see this movie. Just go see it, especially if you're on the fence and you're like even somewhat curious. As long as you're like, no, I really don't want to see Godzilla and I really don't want to read subtitles.
Yeah, well, and we had a pretty nice sized crowd there too.
We did.
Granted, it was in one of the smaller theaters at the movie theater we were at, but yeah, I really liked it. It's probably 9 out of 10, I'd say for me.
Wow. So
Yeah.
Godzilla 10 minus 1.
10 minus 1. There
There
we
you
go.
go. Yeah, go see this movie. It's great. And then come back and listen to our spoiler review, which we're going to start right after this.
All right, Godzilla -1 spoilers.
Dude, when he was landing that plane at the beginning of the movie, I'm like, that bomb is right there. I'm like, how are you supposed to land this thing? And I'm like, oh, duh. You're not supposed to land this thing. It's a kamikaze plane. I'm like, that thing's going to just scrape against the ground. Man.
Yeah, and just go off. Yeah, no, the beginning of this movie is great. It's so good at like establishing just all the different pieces that make this movie great. I mean, we're introduced to our main character, Shikishima, the kamikaze pilot who kind of, bows out from doing his, the kamikaze thing.
He fakes having engine problems.
Yeah.
And the mechanics are like, you don't have any engine problems. He's like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, huh?
Yeah. And so he ends up getting stuck there that night, and that's when Godzilla comes. And Godzilla's a lot smaller.
Like what, like 30 feet tall?
Yeah,
maybe?
It wasn't that tall.
I was like, this is it? Like, I'm like, this is all he's going to be? Well, no.
Yeah.
He's going to get nuked a couple times.
But his attack on that island is so good.
Yeah.
That was like, it's not on this level, but it's one of those movie moment like intros where my mouth was just like agape for a lot of it because of how entertaining it was. I always think of like Another Day of Sun with La La Land.
I was just gonna say like La La Land.
Yeah, it was kind of that
in
way.
a very different
way,
vibe.
but it was like wasn't what I was expecting.
Although
in both
La La
cases.
Land's intro would be even better if Godzilla was doing what
That would be
Godzilla was
cool.
doing as they're singing. Another day of I'm getting ripped their heads off. I was asking you beforehand. I'm like, does Godzilla like eat people? He didn't really eat people, but he did do a little T-Rex bite at their head
and then
just
throwing them up,
flipping them.
And I thought honestly,
places.
I mean, that was all at night. I thought that all looked great too. I thought that was very convincing. The live action people going into CG puppets, but it was just very tense because there was like. They didn't really have any way to fight back against him, and as you kind of said, it was almost a oneer kind of thing going on, where Godzilla's just like in the background picking people off as we're following our main character kind of running around.
People getting stomped.
Yeah, but then he goes to the plane because he's going to use his gun to gun Godzilla down. Because as the mechanic says, a 20 millimeter cannon can kill anything or whatever.
Yeah, 20 millimeter can kill anything. These firearms are going to be ineffective or whatever. I thought he was just going to fly away. That was where I thought that was going. But then he just gets in and he just can't bring himself to pull the trigger.
Yeah, he just can't do it. Which that's kind of leads into what I was gonna say, what my comparisons with Oppenheimer, where as like characters, he's someone who like has to face the consequences of his actions like throughout this whole movie. Like if he had gunned down Godzilla, maybe like these people wouldn't have like been these cities wouldn't have been decimated later on, and that's adding on to his guilt and everything, where he's like seeing this stuff happen. It's not like one for one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that happens. I feel like that happens very late on in Oppenheimer, and he almost like
it's not like a parallel, I would say necessarily, but I think it's still someone who has to face the consequences of his actions on a very, very large scale.
Yeah, I would say more the consequences of inaction though.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of another character from a movie that couldn't bring themselves to do something. This is a trope that there are other examples. I'm trying to think of one of someone who just hasn't been able to do it. You could even make a case for like Batman being unable to kill the Joker, like all these things that happen in the Dark Knight because he can't kill the Joker. Like he can't bring himself to do this thing that seems necessary. There are better examples though that I just am not thinking of off the top of my head. But I see where you're saying.
Yeah.
See what you're saying. See, I see where you're saying it too, right over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think, just because, he doesn't shoot then. There's another time where he doesn't, or I mean, he doesn't do his kamikaze flight.
Yeah, he doesn't do his kamikaze flight. He doesn't do,
when he goes
Godzilla.
back and his neighbor's like, oh, my kids are dead because you didn't do your duty. It's like, probably not. That seems like a stretch, but wow, that is very pointed.
Well, yeah, he has to kind of face the scorn of so many people, and he has to like hide that he didn't do the kamikaze thing because it is like a matter of like pride and like honor and stuff. Yeah,
but there was another guy who was like, I'm on the island that I thought was interesting. Like, I'm with you. Like, we need more people like you who are just not going to just kill themselves.
Yeah.
Just follow directions.
Yeah.
But yeah, surviving is a big motif of this, of like just, people dying wishes of loved ones being like, you just need to survive. You just have to do it. Like I don't care how you do it. You just need to do it. And the burden of surviving these things. And yeah, I thought that was a really cool part of it. I think we should talk probably about like the family that forms of just like, there's a lady in the market with the baby who's like getting chased for like, I don't know, stealing food or something, and just hands over the baby to Shikishima, and he just waits
just
there
like
forever,
waiting for her to come back,
waiting for the Popeyes order. And then then she, she's like, well, I couldn't come back in the middle of the open, sort of thing. She had been waiting there too. Turns out not her baby.
No, yeah, it was given to her as like a dying wish from someone. And so she ends up crashing. She and the baby end up crashing at our main character's place, kind of against his will. And then they end up, months pass, and they end up becoming like a family.
Yeah.
The movie, this kind of section of the movie is like a montage over the course of a couple years, where it's just, them kind of slowly establishing themselves as a family over key points. And also our main character getting his job as a mine
decommissioner,
yeah, probably best word for it. But yeah, them and their, they've got this little shack home, and then they get a little bit of a nicer home and everything. And they've got this neighbor who's kind of angry at him, but ends up being really key to helping watch Akiko, the adopted daughter.
Akiko was very cute.
Yeah, she was
very annoying crier though.
Yeah,
wow, I was like, oh my gosh, wouldn't want to be around that.
No,
wouldn't want to be around Akiko when she's crying.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought the family dynamic worked really well. Initially I was worried with how it like jumps. I was worried it was going to feel very rushed, but I feel like because it keeps jumping to like key points in their like relationship and their as a family and everything. And it's such a like key thing to our main character's motivation and everything. I felt like it ended up working out really well.
Well, even like in action there, like he doesn't marry Akiko.
No.
Or not Akiko, but
Noriko.
Noriko, yeah.
Noriko.
And by that, she goes and by consequence of that, she goes and gets a job in Ginza.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is like rebuilt, like the epitome, okay, we're coming back. We're getting back to, things. And Godzilla just comes and wipes that whole dream. And so, like, there you go, a consequence of inaction. And all his buddies from the mine sweepers, they're like, what do you mean you're not married? This isn't your kid? Like,
yeah,
what's going on?
Just kind of this unheard of dynamic.
Yeah, but they're like, well, good for you, sort of thing. But yeah, no, I just liked the family dynamic. I liked the team dynamic on the boats.
Very good. The captain, the doc, and the kid.
Yeah, the kid, the doc, yeah, the captain. And I liked
good character design for the doc. The hair is so good.
Great hair. Best movie hair, I think, of the year.
Oh, it's so good.
I kept thinking every time he was on screen, I'm like, great hair.
Yeah,
just
right.
So good. And the glasses, just great. But there were some funny moments too, like when he's like specially designed boat or whatever.
Yeah,
especially with that ship. It's made out of wood.
But I mean, it makes sense in context. They explain that it's, a wooden boat. So these mines that the Americans had deployed that were magnetic and could, they'd latch on to metal boats. So if you bring out this wood boat, you're not worried about that as much. So it makes sense, but it is funny.
There are a couple other funny one-liners in there that I'm not remembering.
Yeah.
But little bits of humor. Like when it made sense. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, oh, cutaway gag. Like, oh, insert joke here. It was like,
yeah, it was well timed,
organic joke to place right here.
Exactly,
like that they thought like a person would actually say this in the moment, to find finding humor in a dark situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I think maybe we should jump to the Ginza attack. Unless I'm forgetting a major scene.
The boat chase thing.
The boat chases beforehand.
Yeah, which. That's great too. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier with the droning sound in the background. It's so tense because like Godzilla's just huge. This is like the biggest we've seen him yet in this movie.
That one nuclear test happened. The Bikini.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called
or something. Bikini Atoll.
But there was a nuclear test that essentially made Godzilla bigger. And so Godzilla's chasing after them. They like have no idea what to do. They keep trying these different things and he's just like relentlessly pursuing them. And they really only get away by like chance and stuff. It's a lot of luck on their side.
Yeah. Bikini Atoll.
Okay. When the one ship ends up showing up from Singapore or whatever it was. Yeah, like that was so lucky on their part.
Well, they're trying to buy time.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
but they were also just trying to get away too, because like
it was very Jaws-esque.
It was, yeah.
Especially with like shooting the thing in the mouth, very, very Jaws.
Yeah.
But Godzilla just doing damage to different things. The guys on the ship, they're just screwed. Just like, I love how they just like Godzilla just takes it out and just the huge just atomic breath.
Oh yeah, that was good.
And you don't quite see what it like. We as the audience know because we know Godzilla that it's the atomic breath, but they wouldn't be like. They're like, what is that? What just happened?
Well, and it was just like a fraction of the atomic breath's power too. It's just kind of this little. I mean, he was underwater, just shoots up this beam into the sky essentially, and that's all we see of it then. Before we see its full destructive potential later. The ship is just gone. Yeah, it is still like just completely demolished.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, that was a great, fun scene.
And that's also where they set up the whole bombs in the mouth thing too, which comes into play at the end of the movie. So
yeah, no, all around just very intense, very fun, but very scary as well scene. And it was like, I don't want any of these people to die.
No, they're all good. They are the best Godzilla characters.
Which nobody ends up dying in this movie, right?
Yeah, none of the main characters die, no.
Which is incredible because you genuinely felt stakes for everybody.
But I think it's like, I mean, I think that kind of ties into what you were saying earlier about like, the value of life and everything in regards to,
Yeah, well, weirdly enough, they're like two Last Jedi tie-ins here.
Yeah.
And one is the Ginza, like, cut out the sound before the just huge destruction takes place.
Yeah.
Very visually impressive. And then the other one is like, this is not about sacrifice. This is about saving each other and valuing each other's life.
And so it's nice that no one ends up dying for that reason. So,
like, very weird parallels between this and The Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's true.
A movie that I like most of. A lot.
I like a lot of it.
Yeah. And so there we go. And I also like a lot of this movie. So let's talk about Ginza now.
Yeah. Which was fantastic. It was so good. I mean, this was like the most classic Godzilla,
Very classic
moments
Godzilla.
this is him, rampaging through the buildings. But this is
You got the radio broadcaster doing the live show.
Yeah. But this is what I was talking about earlier, where it's so much more focused on just like the people dying, because like he'll just see like a footstep and just people getting like smushed or like flung up into the air by the sheer impact and everything. And there's just people screaming and everything. It is pretty terrifying.
Very reminiscent of Austin Powers.
Sure. I can't remember. I don't even know what part you're referring to.
It's got you. It's a Godzilla parody scene.
Oh, okay.
I think it's in Goldmember, probably.
Which we watched for the podcast, right? I don't remember anything for those movies.
I'm making a joke.
Yeah.
So there you go. No, it was great. And you get the whole sequence on the train, dangling out Nathan Drake style.
Yeah, that was terrifying. That was very spooky. She drops into the water.
Yeah. So very cool sequence from that regard. And then here's a little piece of action from Shikishima. He actually goes to Ginza to do something to try to save Noriko. He does,
but it's like too late in some ways.
And then we get the atomic breath and like
okay, my one, if I were to have one minor gripe with this movie in terms of like conveniences, how did he find Noriko?
Oh yeah,
it's like it's just complete like mass chaos. Like she's probably nowhere near where she works or anything. Like doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
And Noriko pushes him out of the way of the blast wave, or the shock wave, and she somehow survives that.
Yeah,
although she's very scraped up from it, as we see at the end of the movie. But
has some weird mark on her neck at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's right. She's got the symbiote.
Symbiote. But yeah, it goes off. It just looks like a nuke. It completely just demolishes flattens most of the city. Like when the blast is over and we have Shikishima coming out, he's just like, there's no one around. Everyone's completely dead.
It's just quiet.
Yeah.
Which I'm just can't imagine what it would have been like to survive the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and like see the immediate aftermath.
Yeah.
Horrifying. And then what's our next kind of sequence after that? Or is it do we have another action sequence after that until the end?
No.
Okay, so then it's okay, what are we gonna do about freaking Godzilla coming inevitably for Tokyo and just destroying what's left of Tokyo?
Yeah, and it's the people taking it into their own hands, like
private citizens doing it.
Yeah, they don't think the government's going to act fast enough. They're going to come up with anything or accept their plan or anything. So it's just a bunch of like ex-military people,
ex-Navy, specifically.
Yeah, that are utilizing their resources. And then you have the Doc, who's like the smart one, coming up with the plan and everything. You've got the balloon company people that have got their thing going. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of private citizens coming together and coming up with a plan. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool science-y plan of using the I forget what the chemical was, the gas. Freon to sink Godzilla instantaneously, to use the pressure of the ocean to crush Godzilla.
And then if like the plan B is to like essentially do the reverse of that, like if
if it doesn't work, bring them back up. Like the pressure, there's no way an organism should be able to survive the changes in pressure. First going that deep and then going back up, both very fast. So I thought that was like, oh, that's a really cool plan. It's here's how we're going to blow up the Death Star. Yeah. Except it was much more interesting. And that's kind of where the Top Gun Maverick kind of element comes into it too. Like, here's our plan.
It's so well explained because they're
going
to
to do.
They have to like tie up Godzilla at first too by maneuvering their battleships.
It's like, here's plan A. Here's plan B, and Shikishima, nobody knows about it, but he's got plan C going on. And even though you can see where this movie is going. Like, plan A is just not going to work. Plan B is not going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to get down to plan C. And there's this whole thing about, like, there's the throwaway line of, like, we need to not make planes that don't have ejector seats and stuff in it. I thought that was a really cool monologue about, the critique of the Japanese imperial military, and just lack of lack of value for human life. I was like, wow, I wasn't necessarily expecting that kind of inner critique of the nation itself. And then so there's the throwaway, we don't even have ejector seats, so I'm like, well, they're gonna put and then there's the moment where they're like, hey, we can't hear what they're saying as they're working on the plane.
Yeah.
Very cool looking plane too, by the way.
It was a great design.
Very cool design of the plane. I'm sure it's an actual type of plane that existed.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, sure.
But yeah, I'm like, well, they're definitely just adding an ejector seat to that.
Yeah, well, and it was funny because they get the mechanic from the island back to work on the plane because they're like, oh, we need a mechanic who knows how to work on these types of planes or whatever. So they track this guy down, and when the guy's showing him everything, it cuts away before he's like, oh, one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing.
And
yeah, that's kind of the moment I'm alluding to. Yeah,
yeah, and then I'm like, well, yeah, that's the ejector seat. But then it cuts back to that.
The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Rises this sucker.
Yeah,
so hard. So I even though we know where it's going, the execution of that entire third act sequence, the climax of the movie, is so well done and just so intense, gripping, exciting, and like I said, we're so attached to these characters by this point.
Yeah,
we want them all to survive. There's a great line too of the kid. They're telling the kid, Captain's telling the kid, not being in the last war is not being in a war is a good thing.
Yeah,
that's
something to be proud of.
Something to be proud of. Because he's like, well, I want to be part of this or whatever. You guys treat me differently. And then him coming, and then you have a Rise of Skywalker moment with all the ships there, but this moment actually works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little cheesy. It's a little Deus Ex Machina kind of thing, but it is still fun, and it makes sense because we have
Dunkirk.
Yeah, that too. Because we have the kids still on the shore wanting to help out, so he gets all the tugboats out. And yeah, I thought that was great. Very fun moment
to help bring Godzilla back to the surface. But yeah, you have that tense moment too where the ships are overlapping and just scraping against each other when they had
racing for impact,
close the loop. The whole thing's fun. Godzilla takes a lot of damage from sinking down and coming back up, and
I think one thing we haven't really mentioned is I like how Godzilla is treated just like an animal in this. Essentially, he doesn't. A lot of times Godzilla is either the protector of Earth or something, or retaliating because of nuclear weapons or something, which for all we know that could be the case in this. But in this, he is basically just a big animal that has no motivation or anything, just literally a force of nature. And so he's able to get kind of tricked like one too. He's able to get lured out into the sea by our main character with the plane and everything.
Cat with a laser point,
essentially, pointer. And then he's a cat swatting at flies essentially while he's getting tied up and everything.
You have to come close to him, otherwise he's not going to be interested. So Shikishima doing that, putting his life at risk that way, that was very exciting.
Yeah.
There was kind of a comical moment where it's they have the one ship that is gonna blast the Godzilla sound at the guy. That's
right.
It's falling, and it just is tossed immediately. Their whole plan just goes to shambles.
Well, that was one of the funny moments too, because it the people over the intercom were like, "Oh, the ship is destroyed" or something like that. They had just said it was
the decoy
deployed.
ship has been disabled, or something like that.
It's pretty funny.
But yeah, no, it was just all very exciting, and they try to do all the stuff, and you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time, and then of course we have the moment where Shikishima comes in. Again, the sound is cut off, that he's powered up, the spikes are coming out, Reptar mode has been activated, and the atomic breath is about to come, and just here comes the plane, and just clunks on in there, explodes. And oh my gosh, Shikishima's gone, and nope, there he is coming down. Godzilla sinks,
disintegrates
Yeah.
with the nuclear blast or the atomic breath. There was the one moment I was like, oh my gosh, when Godzilla's like neck snaps at the bottom of the sea or whatever.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, that was like, when it like reaches the bottom, like his neck snaps, which that's supposed to be like the moment where you're like, okay, maybe he is dead, but obviously he's not. But that was like the theme had been playing, and then it just cuts out as soon as his neck snaps. I was like, oh my gosh. Which, by the way, I'd mentioned it or alluded to it in non-spoilers. The moment in this climax where it's going da, 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 that's like when the plan's like starting to be executed. It's so good. That gave me goosebumps.
Such good momentum to the movie, and great. This was great. Shikishima's alive. They're all happy. Everybody lives pretty. I mean, all the main characters live, and they save the day. The neighbor gets a message for like Miss Shikishima or something. No, whatever the last. No, that is the last name, right? Shikishima.
Yeah,
something like that. And I'm like, is Noriko still alive? I'm like, kind of a little thing because they cut away from it, and then sure enough, we see Shikishima running to the hospital, and Noriko's still alive, and they're back together. Akiko's back. How does Akiko know to give the message to the other lady? Like, she can't. There's no way she can read yet.
Well, I think it was. I just felt it was more like
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
here's this envelope sort of thing. That was,
this is like I found it next to me. She's like her dad's gone, so she just went to the next person she knows, kind of thing. That's kind of what I read it as. But
the scene where they think Noriko's dead and she's just crying, and all the other guys just don't know what to do.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's such a great little moment of
oh my gosh,
like just feeling so helpless to do anything to comfort this child, and you just have to sit there and listen to this poor child wail about thinking their mom is gone.
Yeah, well, and I think Akiko, it's so great because I mean she's key to our main character Shikishima, like deciding to live essentially, because he's like, as we've mentioned before, it's the importance of life and the individual and everything. But I mean, he's witnessed all of these horrible things happen, kind of indirectly because of him, like not doing something a long time ago or not doing several things over the course of the movie. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to regain my honor. I'm going to, take this kamikaze plane. I'm going to fly into Godzilla's mouth. And that's like the plane he has set, the plan he's like ready to execute and everything. And then he like has some moments with Akiko and everything, and realizes that he does have stuff to live for, and he can kind of right some wrongs, and he won't always be, he won't be able to fix everything he's done wrong, but he's got, he's got Akiko that he can help raise and make good and everything.
Yeah, it was very emotionally powerful watching that. And I hope you got that sense too, as the audience members, people listening to this. Let us know what you think about this movie in the comments, email in, what did you really appreciate about this? Because I think this was just like the sleeper hit of the year. Like, how did this came out of nowhere? And I'm like, this is going to be on a lot of people's like top movies of the year list, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a little sequel teaser, I guess, at the end. Yeah. So we'll see if we get one. I wouldn't be surprised because I think has the, I think, biggest U.S. opening for any Japanese movie, I think.
Wow.
So yeah, I assume it's probably making a bunch of money back in its home country, and it's making quite a bit of money here. So I think it's already made out over double its budget. So
wow, very impressive.
Yeah.
Anything else to say, or forever hold your peace, Holden?
Yeah, I don't think so. It's very good. Love it.
Sweet. If you want to hear more of us talking about Japanese cinema, The Boy and the Heron.
For next week. Yeah.
The Boy and the Heron next week is the plan to see that. So make sure you subscribe, stick around, listen on your favorite audio podcast platform or on YouTube. With that, we're going to go into our final segment of the show, which, of course, Holden, is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right. This week, Jimmy, watched a few movies, one of which was I, Tonya.
Oh, how was that?
It was really good. It was, I mean, I guess I didn't really know a ton about the Tanya Harding kind of story and situation and everything. It was funnier than I was expecting. Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan is her husband. They're both so good in the movie. They're hilarious and very interesting.
I didn't realize Sebastian Stan is in it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, they're both great. It is a wild story. I feel like if you are vaguely aware of what happened, you don't know like really what happened. I mean, obviously it goes very in depth and everything, it's I don't think really anyone knows exactly the intent of everything that ended up happening in the real life kind of event, but it's still so interesting. I don't know. I'd recommend it. I loved it.
There you go. I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah. I think I watched it on Max. But yeah, it's a very good movie.
There we go.
It's kind of Margot Robbie. She was nominated. Oh, and I forgot to mention the actress who won an Oscar for it, her mom. I can't remember. She was so good in it too. Oh my gosh. I wasn't expecting her. Allison Janney. There we go. She won an Oscar for it. She's great. Anyway, and then the other movie I watched was The Terminal, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg movie.
I'm trying to think of which one that one is.
So the whole concept of it is Tom Hanks is from like a Eastern European country, I believe, and he flies into I can't remember what airport it is in the US, but his visa gets denied. But while he's there, his country like breaks out in war and his like government is in shambles. So he can't fly back. So he's essentially trapped as like a citizen of no nation in this airport. It's really interesting. And it's apparently like kind of loosely based on this real like story, like this real like guy that existed. But it was great. It was very heartwarming. It was pretty funny, actually, in a lot of ways. It was really interesting. It was like a story I just wasn't familiar with. Had a great cast. Stanley Tucci is like kind of the antagonist character, but he's very entertaining. Tom Hanks is great as always. Actually did a pretty good vague, I think Bulgarian accent is what the subtitles said. Whatever country he was from, it was made up, but I think Netflix subtitles kept saying Bulgarian, like speaks in Bulgarian or something. So I believe that's what it was. And yeah, in another notable aspect about it is John Williams did the score for it, like he does for so many Steven Spielberg movies. It was so good. The main theme for The Terminal, I like added it to my movie playlist.
Really?
I loved it. It was fantastic. So, yeah.
It says it's on Paramount Plus.
Maybe that's where I watched it. Maybe it wasn't Netflix. Wherever I watched it. Yeah, Paramount Plus might be right. But yeah, I recommend it. Very good movie from 2004, so a lot of you have probably already seen it. Other than that, though, actually something interesting kind of outside of the normal three things that we talk about, I've been listening to an audiobook for the first time. I've never really done that. I was like, I do a lot of driving, so maybe I should do this since I don't usually sit down and read books. But I've been listening to the audiobook of Jeanette McCurdy's memoir.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad my mom
died. Yeah. It is gripping. Oh, my gosh. This is, I mean, so the audiobook is read by her, which is great. That's an obvious but great choice. But her life has been like very hard in a lot of ways. And she's, she acknowledges that obviously she had a lot of good things at being a child star and everything in terms of money and stuff, but she has had a lot of like trauma and wild things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I would not wish this on anyone.
Wow.
So it's very interesting. I feel like I'm a third of the way through it right now. The audiobook itself is like 5.5 hours, which from what I understand audiobook wise isn't actually that long.
No, it's not very long.
So it's pretty, it's worth checking out if you like reading the books. I highly recommend the book. But yeah, it's really good. And her recounting her time on iCarly was really interesting. She has a on the audiobook version, obviously you can't get this from the book. She has a great impression of Miranda Cosgrove, the lead act. It sounds just like her. And it like they're very good friends, so it's not like she's making fun of her. But when she reads it in her voice, like lines in Miranda Cosgrove's voice, so good, hilarious. But yeah, recommend that. But other than that, I finished playing Dead Space a second time. Very good. So now I'm playing Final Fantasy VII, the original, which is very fun so far. I'm still in the section of the game that the remake covers, so nothing new to me yet, really. And yeah, I think that's it for me, Jimmy. What about you? What have you been doing?
Gaming wise, Emily and I finally decided to just sit down and finish It Takes Two. Because it had been we had not played that in several months, and we were like, we're almost done. We just got to sit down and just do it. Have you played it?
Not yet.
I like it. I don't think it's as great as everybody says it is. Like it's very like whimsical and creative, and I appreciate that, but I don't think it's as fun as. I feel like it's a little tedious. Like it's like, okay, go here and do this thing, and to get this one thing that you need, you got to go do these 4 things, and every time you like think you're done, there's another thing you need to do.
Sure.
And I don't know. It was fun. It was cute. I just was like, I don't.
How long is it?
It's like 12, 13, 14 hours long. It just was too long, I think. I much prefer their game A Way Out, which is like 6 hours and has like phenomenal set pieces in it. And you're like, how is this an indie game? This feels almost like an Uncharted moment in here. And there's several of them. And I think like, again, it's not as like family friendly because it's like 2 people prison breaking, but there's some twists and turns that make it fun. And it's just like, I don't know. I had a way more fun with it A Way Out than I did It Takes Two. I might be alone in that. So let me know if what your take is, if you played them both, or what you think, what you appreciate about It Takes Two, what you appreciated about A Way Out if you played either one. But I'd be curious for you to play them sometime, and
I do want to play them.
Let me know which one you prefer. I've heard they're like a Tale of Brothers or something. Tale of Two Brothers is a
first
good game.
Yeah,
it's a good game as well. I haven't played that one. I would kind of want to play Lego Harry Potter with my wife now. I think that would be kind of funny. It was in my PS Plus collection, but now I no longer have PS Plus. So
now you're gonna have to
just gonna wait for it to go on sale sometime.
You can get it for like $5 probably
somewhere.
So,
yeah, somewhere or on sale sometime. But yeah, that was nice to finish that. And then show wise, I started watching Fall of the House of Usher, which has been great. I'm like 2.5 episodes in, and I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
I think it's very, very entertaining and very well done. So that's I'm late to the Mike Flanagan train, other than Dr. Sleep,
than Dr. Sleep,
which is very good. So awesome. I'll have to catch up on his other stuff now that our family Netflix, there was enough downloaded devices that I could get on.
Yeah, so now you can actually watch.
Yeah,
download them for when you're working out.
Yeah, there we go. But that's it for me. Next week, Colden, we got The Boy and the Heron.
Yes.
Maybe, what was the other? Maybe some Netflix thing?
Yeah, there's a movie called May December that has been getting a lot of buzz on Netflix that I wouldn't be surprised is like an award season type thing. So you should look into it, see if if it sounds interesting to you. But I've seen nothing but really good things about it. So that might be added too. We'll see.
We'll see. Otherwise, Holden, you can take it away. Take it home.
Yeah. If you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes, or email us at tompodcast@gmail.com, or donate to our Patreon. And that is it.
Awesome. Jimmy. Sweet. Until next time, adios, pantalones.
Love you.